We are? This is a wonky situation here today, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm at my home studio, but we're hanging out, and we are joined now by, this is such a treat, one of the best dual threat running backs in all of NFL history. 10-year career where he accumulated over 4,000 scrimmage yards, 75 touchdowns. Please welcome Chicago Bears legend, 14,000 legend, if I said that wrong. Matt Forte, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you? I was about to say 4,000. Like, wasn't that in like the first 3 years?
I just like cut it short by 10,000. It's not like you worked hard to get that 10,000, right? That wasn't hard work at all.
Easy work, light work.
What do you miss about the game, Matt? I haven't talked to you in a while. You're watching these games. What kind of stuff's getting into your head?
Everything, watching last night, watching the Bears play, and, when a guy like DJ Moore and he scores multiple touchdowns. I remember having a game against the Commanders, but it wasn't the Commanders back then, having 3 rushing touchdowns, how you celebrate that. You celebrate that hard work that you put in the offseason and during camp, and it's a lot of fun. So, on the other side of the game, you got to find those type of joys in other things like fatherhood or entrepreneurship, other things like that.
You're doing all sorts of stuff. I can't wait to hear about it. But you mentioned watching that game last night, and it's fun when you're winning. And this Bears team was not winning. You were part of winning teams. You were part of really high statistical seasons for yourself personally. That must have been really rewarding. So you're watching Justin Fields and DJ Moore have this amazing night. 4 touchdown passes for Fields, 230 yards, a career best for DJ Moore there, the #1 wide receiver. What did you see out of Fields?
I saw the composure that he's showed many times before. It's nothing new that we haven't really seen. I think I saw him in a comfort zone where he didn't look too mechanical, where he was in the pocket and felt, too pressured, or he was trying to stretch really hard to make a play. And, his passes were on point. You can see on that last touchdown of DJ Moore, it was just outside of the reach of the defensive back. And, he went forward and the guys made a play. So he's definitely in a zone where he can play at freedom. And that's the best way to play. When you feel like you're hindered by, the offense or the coaching sometimes. And, he made a statement earlier, but he wasn't really talking about that part. But when you feel too mechanical out there, it can hinder your game and you feel a little constricted. So they got to go out there and let them play, let them run, let them pass and call design runs and all of that.
And it clearly works. So I hope that they're listening to you and listening to him when it comes to that. And they were able to execute when he was able to be a little looser. Is he the long-term answer at quarterback for Chicago?
I think he's answered that question a long time ago. Even last year, I think he answered that question. Obviously, rushing for a lot of yards. And, even though the passing yards aren't, 300-yard games, 400-yard games every game, it doesn't have to be if you're complementing it with the rushing yards. But the only reason, the coaches get scared, I don't want him to run too much. He might get hurt and those things. First things first, he's got to be able to know how to get down and when to not get, when to take on defenders and not with that throwing arm. And then also we got to stack up front. Since I was there in the first year I played, 2008, year after year, we drafted offensive linemen and they never panned out. So we have to put guys up front that's really going to protect him and give him a pocket like he had last night. Because when you do that and you keep his feet clean, you see what he can do with the weapons that he has.
Are you around the team? Do you talk to them? Are you in the world of what's going on with the Bears? It seems like it.
Somewhat. I would probably like to be involved a lot more, as well as some of the other guys who were legends when we played, like Lance Briggs and Peanut Tillman. And, I could go down the list. I think the alumni relations are definitely improving and getting better. I went to practice during camp this year and spoke with the running back group personally and gave them a lot of insight and wisdom. And I've often been called by some of the rookies when they get drafted. Roshan Johnson reached out to me as well and asked me a bunch of questions. I'm involved as much as they would like me to be. But, I think from the point of the perspective of a guy who's played a long time and in that position or with that specific particular team, we have a ton of guys that, still live in Chicago that would be willing to give their expertise towards technique, gameplay, just wisdom around the whole game, even scouting department when you're looking at a guy prospect coming in. So I think there's a lot of guys that are willing. It just has to be, are they willing to let us, take that type of role?
Matt, what's the problem?
I don't think there's any main problem. I like that, they've made a lot of changes up front. Ryan Poles was actually in my rookie draft class. He was a undrafted free agent, and we went to camp together as rookies and all of that. So I have a relationship with him. And then Kevin Warren, I've met him in the offseason as well during some of the Bears events. I think I met him first time at the gala that they had, and he actually came and spoke to me first, and I didn't have to go and introduce myself or anything like that. And so that shows the change in leadership up there, that they're looking for that type of relationship, and that it takes a little bit of a time to restore that bond that we've all had with the team.
There's a lot of arguments. You mentioned the coaching and what they're doing with her without Fields. It was very smart to have you guys. And it's not really, it's not just scouting and tape and being a football player. Like, you're the best person, in my opinion, to go in there and talk to them about what being, what life is like off the field, how to, the best way to carry yourself and model yourself. That's always what you were in that Chicago locker room, and really the NFL always thought so. Do you think the Bears are doing enough from a coaching perspective to help Justin Fields?
Yeah, I do. I don't doubt that or question that there's, their lack of want to coach him and help him to become better. But sometimes it's almost like parenting. When you're always on your child, too much, then you start to hinder their freedom, where they get to learn the most through experience. And sometimes you can coach something on the field and during practice, and in the game, it turns out to be totally different. And so you have to coach those certain type of experiences that happen, to where you learn from the losses and you learn from the lessons, to where now if we're making mistakes, 2 and 3 and 4 times in a row, that's the same mistake. That's the difference. So we got to, watch film to, go out there and figure out, what do we do best? Let's do those things. And some of the things that our weaknesses, we're going to work on them, but we're going to emphasize what we do best, and not play scared. When you play out of fear, like fear of, this happening or that happening, you restrain, you put things back on the game. And so they got to go out there and not overcoach him. And I think that can be an issue at any time or any position, but especially the quarterback position. When you overcoach, they got a lot to think about. So if he's thinking too much, the natural talent where you have to react and you take off running or you make an instinctive play, that gets hindered. And that's when you separate yourself from being average to being really good to being great.
Yeah. And we saw him just go back. I said a kiss. Keep it simple, stupid, right? Like Bears, go back to basics. They did that. We saw it unfold last night successfully, with a little help from Ron Rivera's defense sort of not showing up in this one, but a big win for them. And we'll see what happens down the stretch. We just got to stack wins and do what they can. And I'm really glad Justin Fields was able to do it, because I've been having this joke for the past couple of weeks that we're going to have to say and apologize to Jay Cutler, Matt, because who knew that he was, as far as being a functional quarterback, maybe one of our best, and we didn't know how good we have it as far as, surrounding him with talent like you and letting him throw the rock around.
Absolutely, man. Like, people would be always, harping on Jay for this and for that. And it's like, he was out there balling. Like, if you look back at the film and stuff, he wasn't getting a lot of protection either. I actually was back there blocking people I wasn't supposed to be blocking. I'm looking from one side to the other. I'm blocking defensive linemen. And, me and him would communicate back there. And, sometimes we'd be just like making up plays in the dirt, because we couldn't get enough, enough time sometimes to do stuff. So, like you said, keep it simple, stupid. Like, the Bears definitely, with the running backs that they do have, like, I know it's a passing league, and the running back position is being devalued because, they saying that it's not really that useful anymore. But when you got guys who can, run the ball and catch it, and, I did it for a decade, and it was starting to be a passing league back then. You got to utilize a quarterback like Justin to be able to create holes in the defense. If you have the threat of him running the ball, that takes a guy out of the box. And as a running back who used to have 8 and 9 guys in the box every play, I would love to have that.
It's really well said, and we do apologize to you, Jay Cutler, just on behalf of everyone, not Matt, me, on behalf of anybody who ever gave you any grief, because you were to go out there and do your thing, no matter what your face looked like or whoever memed it with a cigarette in your mouth or whatever. I want to, before we move on, I want to talk about some running backs. You mentioned how they're being treated, how they're being valued. We'll get into some of that. But of course, wanted to extend my condolences to you as an all-time Bear on the loss of an absolute legend, a guy, speaking of fear, who just struck fear in everyone who lined up across him or had to deal with him on Sundays. And it was also close to the organization. I understand you guys had an alumni event not too long ago where the great Dick Butkus, in all of his glory, participated. So tell me, just when, well, first of all, I'm sorry, but then what did he mean to you, to Chicago?
Yeah, the history of the Bears is so full and rich, with guys on defense, offense, and special teams every phase. And so, it's a sad, day that, Dick Butkus had passed away, but we did have an alumni event before the Packers game, the day before the Packers game at the beginning of the season, where we got to see, there's a lot of the 85 Bears, the championship team that come around still there, and a lot of guys that I played with and we were in the locker room together. And it's a great event to continue to, have those relationships, see guys that you haven't seen in a long time, and, ask them how they're doing in the transition out of the game. And it's a way to continue that Bears bond and that strong family kind of atmosphere of the locker room. And so some of the guys, you see that you haven't seen in like 3, 4, 5 years, and then you see them and it's almost like you never left the locker room. So it's a sad day, obviously, in Bears history, but his legacy is submitted and will always be remembered as one of the toughest guys who set the tone for as far as Bears football and monsters of the Midway, but also how our defense should be playing out there.
He was a monster of the Midway. Is there somebody who sort of instilled that kind of feeling in you, like that Dick Butkus, I can't believe I have to go against this guy today? Who was sort of the guy who, didn't instill fear in you, but you were like, oh man, here he is?
Well, it had to be most of the guys that I went against every day, because when I was playing and Lovie Smith's defense, we had Hall of Fame guys across the board. We had Tommy Harris, we had Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs, Peanut Tillman, Mike Brown, guys across the board who legit Hall of Fame talent. So I'm going against them every day. And it's like, man, I got to practice against these guys. But it also made me better, made me a better player, made me a better, gave me a better work ethic. I also watched those guys to see how they practiced, what they did on the field, what they did off the field. And I kind of took suit and added those things to my game to where it made me improve season after season. Because I've always told a lot of the rookies when they come in and they ask me about, NFL and all that stuff, I was like, anybody can really have a good season, put together one good season. But once they know you and they scheme and plan and actually draw up plays to stop you, can you reinvent yourself to continue to be consistent and to be a good player? And that's the difference.
A lot of comments in our YouTube section here saying, I think Forte would still kill it in the league even now. He was one of the best players I ever saw pound that rock. Lots of love for you, of course, reminiscing on those great days with the Bears. But listen, let's give some love to these running backs. They need our help. This is the PR firm of Matt Forte and Kay Adams, because some of these running, you can't win with a running back. I don't know. Christian McCaffrey, 4 touchdowns, looks pretty good. Bijan Robinson looks pretty good. Who do you like? Who's sticking out to Matt Forte in this 2023 NFL?
Yeah, you just said it. Bijan looks amazing out there. And it was known since he was at Texas when he was coming out, watching film, they're like, this guy's going to be, a great talent. And they're getting him the ball in space, and he's making, when it's not in space and there's 2 defenders, he's making guys, tackle each other. And so, Christian McCaffrey, who's been around in the league for a while and had a few injuries, he's getting a lot of good work out there in San Francisco, and he's doing well. So even David Montgomery, you saw him, on one of the games against the Packers, and he's scoring touchdowns and running hard, and he's going to be hard for us to stop, because I know he's going to be amped up for the game to play against his former team. So Um, but yeah, just the respect for the running back position. I think guys just need to take the reins and say, you know what, when it comes down to the franchise tag, because I went through the franchise tag as well, um, and the price was a little different back then, but they got to take a business decision. When it comes down to the game, and when you have a lack of production, the team will take a business decision and they'll get rid of you or find somebody or replace you. When you're overproducing or you produce above and beyond what's expected or what you were drafted as, you got to go back to the table. And if they say no and they franchise you, you got to use your business sense and say, you know what, I'll sign the franchise tag, but you won't see me out there playing in any games. And so y'all give me the franchise tag for no production. And that's the only leverage you have. So if y'all want to play hardball and you want to do the running back position like that, you have to do that if you want to see everybody behind you be successful and then respect that position. You use your talent in the best way possible, and then you use your business sense as well.
And they're doing it. They're sort of, loosely unionizing and having each other's back and all of that. But, the market sort of set its value. I remember the Pay Forte shirts.
Yeah.
I remember 2011. Do you? I'm sure you do. I remember the Pay Forte and then the franchise tag, and then you came to terms before the season. Like, I don't know. I'm sure you're so passionate about this and you lived through it. When you look at the Jonathan Taylor situation, how do you think he handled it? What advice would you give him?
I think he has handled it well, where you don't have to say a lot. I mean, his production speaks for itself. I mean, the dude is a touchdown machine, and it's just disheartening to see that a guy can go out there and you want to, it's almost a catch-22, because you want to go out there and support your team. You want to show that you deserve this, but you really don't have to prove yourself to the team. They know you can handle it. They know you're a good player or a great player. It's just when it comes down to money, they don't value the running back position. And so my advice to him would be, continue to stand your ground. And like I said, when it comes to, the franchise tag or things like that, like when you said 2011 and the Pay Forte shirts, those were legitimate because at that time I was leading the league in rushing and the punter on the team making $3 million more than I was. And we lead the league in rushing, so we're not using the punter. So, you definitely, you have to make your case. And when you make your case and it's valid, you stand on that. And that type of thing calls for, a lot of times when you're going through business situations and stuff, like when we can switch sports, you go to basketball. Drew Holiday just got traded without any notification. And his family had roots there. Your kids got friends and they go to school and stuff, but the team don't care about that. So when people say, oh, it's just business. So when the player goes and makes a business decision, fans got to realize he's making the best decision for him and his family as well. And so when it comes to leverage, if your leverage is, I'm gonna sign the franchise tag or you get franchised, and you're not gonna get production out of it, but my pockets will be filled, but you're not going to get production. So my advice actually to all running back, college, high school, all of that, work on your catching. Work on you're a natural runner. Work on pass blocking, work on catching, because when you catch the ball, I had over almost 5,000 receiving yards. One year had 100 catches. Most of those catches aren't downfield. Like, most of those catches are 10, 15 yards. If I catch a fade, 20, 30 yards. Most of them are screens, which are, a 1 yard, 0 yard, or almost a negative pass, but you catch it and you take off. So when you can be utilized, sometimes the running game, you go out there, you only get 10 rushes. You only get 12 or 15 touches in the run game. But if you get 8, 9, 10 catches, that's 25 touches total. So then you just continue to amount that yardage, just like all of the extended handoffs.
It's beautifully said, and we're going to clip this off and put it on Twitter for all of those. They're young running backs and the guys who were in the college game, and of course the guys in the NFL. And it's kind of happened to Saquon. Like, Saquon's trying to stand on his performance, and his case is strong because he's not out there, and they're failing without him. The Giants are getting lit up Saquon is what makes that offense go. We all saw it play out last year, but it feels like that's what's concerning to me. Like these players are losing leverage with the tag, and it shouldn't be like that. So interesting words from Matt Forte. And I have a Forte jersey. It was my first jersey I ever had in the NFL, of course. And you've sold plenty of them to Bears fans and people who love fantasy football and just love the game. But now you've got a new athleisure line. So you mentioned entrepreneurship when we kick this off. Talk to me about Workhorse, which is coming out. Okay, Matt.
Yeah. You see, I still got it in me. You know, working out is a lifestyle, and so as you can see, the Workhorse logo right here will be coming out pretty soon, before the end of the year. You can check out my Instagram, mforte22, for updates on that. And I'll have athleisure clothes. As a dad right now, and one who is physically fit but also active, I have to, run to meetings and run to pick up kids and do all kind of other stuff. So sometimes you need to have that functional type of workout gear that, after you leave the gym, or if you had to rush to go get the kids and you're ready to go straight to the gym, you already got your leisure athletic clothes on. So I'll be starting that. I've started the brand already, but I'm working on the website and all the back admin stuff. So it'll be coming out soon. Workhorse Apparel.
I can't wait to see it. And we, of course, just want to give you a shout out for your What's Your Forte Foundation. You have a new program called Finding Your Forte. It's all about investing in equitable economic advancement for youth and families through purposeful relationships. So we're very excited about that and all that you do. So everybody check that out, and check out Workhorse Apparel. I'm going to have to get me some.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, and I'll send you a care package.
Amazing. Maybe we can go kayaking in the Chicago River sometime soon. Give my best to Danielle. Give my best to your family. You're the best, Matt. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest Up and Adams content right on YouTube.